Howdy folks, this is Father Dougal 9000 here, and welcome to another, long overdue, episode of Game Finish Trios, a series where I talk about the games I've played and beaten as part of the Game Finish Challenge off of the Hardcore Gaming 101 forum. It dawned on me as I was writing this, while taking notes and such, that I played a lot of games in the month of our Lord, May 2022. Enough that we're going to be covering games I beat during that month for the next 4 videos. Now, that does include a fair few of the mini mobile phone adventure games from the Jake Hunter / Saburo Jinguji series, but there's also a good few games beyond that in a bunch of different genres that I hope you'll enjoy when we get round to them. Today's games were originally logged from the 8th to the 12th of May 2022. Giana Sisters DS for the Nintendo DS. This is a sequel to the somewhat infamous 8-bit platformer, The Great Giana Sisters, which was effectively a Super Mario Bros. Clone, with its hop and bop gameplay, hitting blocks to get coins and power-ups that give you an extra hit point, and the ability to shoot projectiles, and especially its visuals. This DS sequel, made 20 plus years after the fact by some of the game's original staff, retains that basic Mario-like nature, but it's embellished with a greater focus on exploration. You can discover red gems that unlock bonus levels, and there's a fancy new visual style. I was curious to give the series a go, seeing as it's long since taken on a life of its own with that Twisted Sisters game becoming fairly popular, and I figured this was a good place to start as any. And it is. It's quite easy for the most part, but that suits me down to the ground. Levels are very briskly paced, you can get through a whole world in about 20 minutes or thereabouts. The controls are tightly designed so you can correct jumps and find the exact means to make it past seemingly tricky obstacles. I like the focus on optional exploration, with extra gems as your reward for looking around and not just rushing straight to the goal. That said, you can rush straight to the goal if you like, or if a level's giving you too much trouble with its bonus areas, which is really nice. It defo gets a bit trickier later on. World 8 in particular has some truly devious stage designs, but if you take your time and are able to learn from your mistakes, it's all manageable. There's nothing like a solid, basic platformer to chip away at every now and again, and this is one I'd happily recommend giving it a look if you're interested. Jake Hunter Detective Story Memories of the Past, Episode 5, The Red-Eyed Tiger, for the Nintendo DS. This here is the last mobile game featured in the Memories of the Past compilation. I still have the exclusive game left to tackle, and it features Jake investigating a casino robbery on behalf of an old flame. When he tells her what's happened, she suddenly vanishes and leaves behind her 6-year-old daughter. Puzzled by the disappearance, Jake investigates into the history behind the casino and the robbers, and discovers more than he bargained for. The Red-Eyed Tiger marks the first truly original mobile game for this Jake Hunter series. It's not based on older games like the previous 4 cases, so it's interesting to see that WorkJam went with a much more linear adventure. There's some investigating, but you're not bouncing back and forth between multiple locations like before. You're often whisked off to the next area as soon as you've talked to 1 or 2 characters, and even the end of chapter recap questionnaires are considerably briefer. It's a neat enough change of pace compared to the previous games, especially the last 2, which got increasingly complex, but it's one that almost feels a bit anticlimactic for how all too brief the adventure is. At least where it is in this compilation on its own, it's actually quite grand. I'm curious to see how that compilation exclusive game is going to turn out. I can somewhat understand the interest and the appeal in creating a brand new game just for this compilation, which was also the case for the other 4 compilation titles, Not only is it a cool bonus for the dedicated fans, but it should hopefully result in a more engaging or unique final case to round off the collection than this would be. Whatever goes on, I like that this has given me a greater chance to consciously recognize how structurally and mechanically varied each game has been in telling their stories, so that's really cool. Jake Hunter Detective Story Memories of the Past, Episode 6, Memories of the Past, for the Nintendo DS. This is the final game featured in Memories of the Past, one that was made exclusively for the compilation, and as you can tell, one that the compilation was named after. A pathetic 20-something named Ken gets coerced by a dodgy trio into framing Jake Hunter for a crime, and the game involves jumping between Ken and Jake's perspectives to get a full picture of what's going on. Interestingly, one of the things you're made to do as Ken is to steal a bunch of case files and read them to learn more about Jake. Those case files are the previous 5 episodes I've talked about, meaning that in the process of doing this one, you can play all 5 cases. If you want. Thankfully, you don't have to, you can just skim them if you want to get on with the new story. The game does assume you've played those cases, however, which does make for a bit of a weird framing device that makes you completely forget about the actual game you're playing for hours if you're a newcomer, and it's a bit of a weird excursion if you've already played those other cases. I do like that as things go on, it turns out to be a subtle sequel to The Red-Eyed Tiger, in terms of following up on a plot point that didn't need resolution, but does lead to this story happening. In that sense, I suppose it mechanically makes sense that this is also along the lines of being a fairly linear game, though you do get a couple sections where you can choose from multiple locations and do some good old-fashioned detective legwork. The mental recap sections even come back in a more prominent fashion, which combined with the character swapping makes for a brief, more climactic adventure that recalls everything the previous games had been doing up until now. And with that, I've finally finished the Memories of the Past compilation, and I think I'm a fan of the series now, of Jake Hunter, Saburo Jinguji. It's such a cozy bunch of games to play through, with compact mysteries that have plenty of intrigue, charming dialogue, and a relaxed vibe about it that I still enjoyed the more mediocre episodes. I'm looking forward to playing Ghosts of the Dusk, which is the only other compilation game that got localized. Though sadly it's of WorkJam's last 4 mobile games, so I won't be able to see how their ability to make Jake Hunter adventures on the phone progressed over time. Still, I'm excited for that compilation, so look forward to that pretty soon. And with that, we've wrapped up another episode of the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching and that you'll tune in for the next video. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, have a wonderful day.